to all of them.
That's most definitely what's up.
We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10.
I'm never gonna financially recover.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. How are you? Are you feeling bonita? Dare I say Gucci? Gucci Mane? I hope so. Hi. How's it going? How's it going? How's everybody doing? Okay, Whitest Rabbit. You can't do that to me. I turn my head and the first comment I see is, I can't believe Doc made it to Predator rank this season. Oh, God. Wow. So one of the other things that happened that was, speaking of that, the video that just went up on the main channel. I tried all of the paid mods and stuff in Starfield. It's a pretty interesting video, if I do say so myself. But in that video, we try the quest where you can join a mining corporation. And I cannot even begin to tell you how hard it was to not crack constant jokes, because when you start those missions, one of the very first ones they have is protect miners, like protect the miners easy, protect the miners hard. And dude, I almost like 5 times was like, oh, that's the Dr. Disrespect difficulty. But I figured, you know what? No, that's not the mature thing to do. So I had to restrain myself. Sure did. Ooh, I'm getting a notification on my phone that we might have extreme thunderstorms later. I love that. You know, so long as it doesn't like actually hurt anything, then I'm fine. But Yeah, I don't know. The doc stuff is just crazy. I mean, that is just, I have a feeling like we'll find out like a whole expose in like 6 months or a year or something. We're gonna be like, what the you know, I just have that vibe. It's one of those things where I'm like, I think something like that's gonna happen. Yeah, extreme. It said extreme thunderstorms, so we'll see. Yeah. Jesus. HBO will have a documentary in a month. I don't know. If all this is true, which it sounds like it is, because it sounds like multiple people are saying it. A lot of people are like, well, he never met the person. Like, that's not a great defense, because it's still a crime in most states in the US to solicit a minor and do like message people inappropriately like that. So it still could be a crime. He says they investigated and there was no crime found. Okay. But there's also a difference between what's illegal and what's unethical or just gross, you know? Like if a 50-year-old man is courting like and trying to date a girl that's 16, even if in that state the age of consent is 16, we would still call that guy a creep, you know? Like just because it might be legal does not mean that it's okay, you know, or that we're gonna go along with it, you know? Oh, my face is kind of dark. Oh wait, I think I gotta, I was tweaking the camera. I don't think I tweaked it back. Hold on. Thank you for saying something. No, wrong way. There we go. I think that should be better. I mean, OJ was acquitted, but I mean, come on. Oh, dude, the OJ thing, that is one where I'm like, I struggle to find any. The OJ thing is crazy, dude. Like in so many ways, he basically was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I did it, but oh man. Anyway. For the love of God, like, please don't have any sort of controversy like this. I'm tired of seeing people I like turn out to be pedos. Dude, I saw one. Did I save it? Hold on. Oh, maybe I can find it. Oh, I didn't bookmark it or anything. I saw one that was it was just somebody put the Dr. Disrespect glasses onto a picture of Epstein, and it was pretty funny. But anyway, yeah, that whole thing, it's a wee bit of a bummer. I'll tell you what. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, and of course. Oh, hold on. The screen here. Nope, still not working. Hold on. Sources. There. Hold on. Please hold. There we go. Of course, the quartering is like, sounds good, brother. It's like if it was a speed run for the worst takes imaginable. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it turns out the .doc was a .pdf all along. Nah, it's just you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a PDF, I guess. It's amazing how often this kind of thing happens where you're like, you guys had everything going for you. You had millions of fans, millions of dollars, like you had everything. And then you just felt invincible, I guess. So they just thought they could do this crap and everybody would just like roll their eyes and go along with it. It's genuinely baffling, but it happens like way more frequently than you would think. It's just so pathetic. It's crazy. Oh yeah, did you see Did you see Kai finally beat Elden Ring? I did. Excuse me, I got a hiccup. I did see that. I actually have a really funny clip I wanted to show you guys in case you didn't see it on Twitter. Jack, also thank you for becoming a member. Thank you. And Leonard, thank you for that too. Look at this. This was genuinely hilarious. I like cackled when I first saw this. Kai got stuck on the last Elden Ring boss for like 30 or like 60 hours. He was stuck on it for ages. And at one point, he just got so fed up that he brought in somebody he said was a therapist, and they just talked through his problems.
No, it sounds like this character's giving you a hard time. So what you need to do, instead of being angry that he's being annoying and angry that he's kicking your butt, be excited to win. Be excited that you're going to beat this game. And this is going to be another game on this list of games that you beat. That's the energy you need to focus on. I'm going to beat this game. I beat these games. I know I can do it. And that's a way better headspace than getting frustrated and angry at this character that's going to continuously beat you. If you're giving him that angry energy, it's going to meet you.
Yeah, it's low for me too. This is like max volume. They're just sitting super far away from the mic.
Right back, pow. I need you to get in that positive, confident, resilient energy that you have, because you do have it. You beat 7 games thus far. You're almost done with this one.
Can I show you a run real quick?
Let's see.
You want to see how scary this is?
Let's see how scary this is.
No. It's not scary.
Okay.
You want to see how fun this
Let's
is?
see how fun this is. Exciting this is.
Yeah, very exciting.
Thoughts.
Watch this.
We got this. Positive headspace.
I'm going to show you one run. If I die, I die.
Okay. But don't say that.
I mean, when I win, I'm going to win type shit.
It's just genuinely hilarious. It's just genuinely hilarious to see him come in and have a have somebody like an actual therapist come and just talk him through it. We all probably needed that. But yeah, I mean, he got to that boss at like 31 hours. He was still going at like 80. I don't think he finished until somewhere in the 90s. Like, he just grinded it out. So good for him. A lot of people would have just given up, but like he just grinded it out. So anyway, 99 hours. Oh, baby. Yeah, I mean, for them, it's like, I mean, it's content. So yeah, if it takes an extra 60 hours, awesome. Whatever. I also think I should show you this. So it was confirmed at one point that that PlayStation was working on a PS3 emulation toolkit for the PlayStation 5 to help things get ported forward much more easily, right? That's at least the idea. And when this happened, there were some people that years ago were trying to say that this was going to happen, trying to like come back forward and claim credit for it. And be like, I told you guys, this was always going to happen. When in reality, it's like, I mean, you were just kind of guessing, you know, like, let's not get it twisted. You were just kind of guessing with stuff. So let me put this here. There we go. So this was genuinely hilarious. This guy who you might recognize, Hot 97 hip hop gamer, AMD Plitch the GOAT. I don't know any of that. Okay. But posted a video talking like 4 years ago about this potentially happening. Now, this guy seems nice enough. Like, I don't really know anything about him. I know that this guy was at Summer Games Fest and was walking around like he owned the place, like walking around like he was Jay-Z or something. It was really, really weird. Like, he had people with him in like a little posse or whatever you'd call it that were like pushing other people out of the way so that he could get to demos faster and so that he could try things without other people getting the chance to. Like, it was, oh God, I'm sorry. It was really, really stupid. And he was wearing this like dinner plate on a chain. It was just really, really bizarre. And like, I have no idea who he is or why he wears this dollar store like Party City jewelry, but it was just really awkward. And then to see him pop up here was funny because he was saying, hey, I should get credit for this for reporting, quote unquote, on it 4 years ago. And Tom Henderson replied, "Back then, this information was fake as the gold chain you wear around your neck, dude. You don't get credit for throwing shit at the wall and potentially sticking 4 years later." And everybody was like, oh, God, he went for the kill, dude. He was not messing around. Gee whiz. And sure enough, he wasn't. He just went straight for the throat. Golly. But yeah, I mean, if you wear pretty obviously fake jewelry, and that's your whole personality, you shouldn't be surprised when some people can crush your spirit in a single tweet. Like, there's just, what do you even say to that if you're him? Like, what do you even say? I don't know. Like, again, hip hop gamer, probably a nice guy. You know, I think it was really awkward at SGF that he had a bunch of people following him around that were like kind of passive aggressively getting people out of the way and bullying them into leaving the area so that he could play demos and stuff. Which, you know, it's just kind of annoying, but, yeah, like, I don't even know what does this even mean? A realist gamer, and I got bars, Jesus is God, award-winning journalist, and nationally syndicated. So does he have like a radio show? I just genuinely don't know. I don't know. But I thought that tweet was funny because I'm not kidding. He wears like a dinner plate piece of jewelry everywhere he goes. And like, it's just really, really funny. Because he's also pretty small. Like, he's also probably 5'4" or something. And this thing just looks hilarious. Like, it would look outrageous at a Party City dollar store, like jewelry shop. But he wore it around Summer Game Fest. It was just really weird. It was really, really weird. But I've seen him in other videos and like E3 compilations, cringe compilations and stuff. So I think he's in a bunch of Krabby Cat videos and stuff like that. But yeah, got just flamed by Tom Henderson casually. Yeah. How tall am I? I'm 6 foot, but some of that might be hair. Really, I'm like 5'11" to 6 foot. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the last time I went into the doctor and had like my height measured, but I'm probably around there. Yeah, I'm 5'12 3/4. Yeah. Now, everybody who's 5'10" in the US or 5'11" in the US just says 6 foot. Like, yeah, I'm 6 foot. Sure. Go with that. We'll just go with that. What's that in centimeters? Probably like 15,000. I don't know. Centimeters are hilarious units of measurement, even though they're objectively better than feet. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, gaming news right now is pretty slow, but instead, I wanted to touch on a couple of these little tidbits that have popped over the last couple of weeks. And also share a couple of little heartwarming things that were cute and interesting. So the first one probably is an update that should excite everybody. Or not. Maybe you'll find this like cringe. I don't know. News segment. So there's been an update to Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree that addresses complaints about the game's difficulty and basically rebalances it to make it a little bit easier and more approachable. All it really means is that they've gone in and with balance calibration update 1.12.2, they revise attack and damage negation curves of the I just learned apparently it's not Scadu tree, it's Old English. So Scadu is Old English for shadow. So it's supposed to be shadow tree blessing. I thought Scadutree was like hilarious and just sounded really funny, but that makes way more sense. Apparently that's what it is supposed to be. I don't know why they would translate it as Scadutree instead of just saying Shadow Tree, but whatever. I guess maybe in translation it just got shuffled about. But anyway, those blessings you get from the Scado Bippity Boppity Tree, those, they've rebalanced it.
Wishing everyone here all the best. Luke, are you going to check out the new unscripted vid? Hope you do.
I didn't know there was a new one. I didn't see it pop up in my feed, but yeah, we can check that. Unscripted is always freaking hilarious. Oh, is it the big tech one? Oh, and okay, no, we did see that one. Okay. I don't think I've ever watched the Starfield one from 8 months ago. We might have to see that. Okay. I have that pulled up in another tab. So anyway, they rebalanced the curves for these to scale them differently. So the first half of all of the blessings you get will give you more power. So it should make early DLC bosses much easier to handle. And then they've plateaued it a little bit in the later ones. So it's kind of like hitting the soft cap for level scaling in the base game. But then it picks up at the end as you prepare to take on the final boss. So they are recalibrating all of that. Now, what's interesting is I didn't realize that there's a bunch of people out there that are trying to act as though these skibbity boppity blessings are easy mode. There are literally people that are trying to go through the DLC with no Scadutree blessings, just trying to brute force it with their main game build. Which is unbelievable. I mean, it's like saying, yeah, the DLC's too hard, or the base game's too hard. I didn't level up once. How could they balance it this way? Like, I have zero sympathy. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Moist Critical beat it with martial arts and fists only. No summons, all strength and vigor build. That's awesome. Good for him, dude. That's awesome. Yeah. Hopefully he was using Scadutree blessings, because they put those in the game to scale you through the DLC, but there's some people that are just ignoring it, apparently. And then complaining about it, which is ridiculous. Basically, he said, here's the buffs, get good, no nerfs. Yeah, I like that way of doing it, Jack. Because, like, whenever you nerf bosses, like, it will immediately split the community. As we've seen with, like, Radon, for example, or Melania. Depending on when you beat them in the base game, you might have fought a totally different Radon versus a Melania that was totally different. So, for example, like, has anyone ever done a comparison of like pre-patch Radon? So this is like a 46-second video. I haven't seen this one. I can say I beat him pre-patch pure pain. You can see people are like, it's created two segments of the community, those who beat him before the patch and those who didn't. And I think Miyazaki just didn't want to bother with it.
The man is spinning so hard, I don't know where he's at.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
So they didn't know that the meteoritic radius would be 8 million miles, and it would also be a one-shot.
Yeah, in this case, they nerfed him so hard that it kind of removed a lot of the excitement from the fight. So they kind of had a knee-jerk reaction and, in my opinion, overdid the nerf. And then they went back and they made him more difficult after that. But this is just generally kind of how these types of balancing updates go. And it happens, honestly, in all sorts of games. It happens with, like, games like Overwatch all the time, or Call of Duty, where there'll be a weapon that's super OP, and then they course correct. So, like, if you're going and you're aiming for like just middle of the road, like this is where balance is. A fight like Radon started probably up here, or maybe honestly not that bad, maybe up here, because you could still dodge through that AoE. You just needed to use iframes. But then they rebalance it, and it goes way down into the way too easy category. And then they rebalance it, and it goes up a little bit more, and then it ends up kind of getting rebalanced into a level spot, but it takes some time. Lots of over corrections though. With Melania, same kind of thing, where like she started probably here, and then they were doing some other balance updates, and they accidentally made her way more difficult because they made her heal every time she did an attack instead of just when it landed. And then they kind of balanced it back this way and then landed more in the middle. What they're doing with Shadow of the Air Tree is that they're like, okay, people generally feel like it's maybe here. It's a little bit more difficult than they were expecting. Or if you're trying to cheese it, it's probably way more difficult than you were expecting. But instead of just nerfing stuff to make it way easier, they're just trying to do incremental things to scaling to make it so the player does a little bit more damage if they've taken those steps to go out and find the fragments to level up and increase their power, which I think is just better anyways. You know, I'm sure they're looking at data and seeing that a lot of players that are complaining about difficulty are actually not exploring. They're just trying to speedrun all the bosses, which is gonna be a bad time. Is it possible to play version 1.0 with a physical copy of the game? I'm honestly not sure if Elden Ring had a day one mandatory patch. I don't know. Somebody out there might remember. Somebody out there might remember. But yeah, I'm glad to see that they're making some adjustments. And honestly, of all the adjustments they could make, I think this is probably the best one. In my opinion, the DLC isn't unreasonably difficult. Like it's not broken. It just is designed in a way where, for one, they want you to use as many tools at your disposal as possible, including the fragments. So anybody that's like intentionally avoiding using fragments to scale up, it's like playing the base game and never leveling up and then complaining that the end game bosses are hard. It's like, yeah, dry up, dude. You had that coming. You did it to yourself. Zero sympathy from me. But if I do think there are perhaps some valid points where people are like frustrated by the balancing of some particular builds, like that magic isn't that viable. I could see that.
A SA donated $3. For the past few years, I saw many gamers say that either there is nothing to play, gaming is dead, or gaming is dry. What are your thoughts on those comments? Love your content, by the way.
Thank you, my friend. And also thank you to Roadkill for the gifted membership on YouTube. Thank you, my friend. I mean, I've heard similar things where people are like, yeah, there just aren't that many good games anymore, which is objectively false. Like, there is objectively more great games out today than there were a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. I think for a lot of people, they are overwhelmed by the selection. I think also games are pretty expensive. And there's a broader cultural shift that's happened in the gaming industry that I've talked with Joel Raptor about, where it feels like if a game is not currently being hyped up or in a hype cycle, people consider it to be lame or lackluster. You know, like people just don't connect with it. So there can be a great game out there, but if it's not being discussed or hyped up, people just disconnect from it for some reason, and they're like, well, but I'll get to it later, you know, and it's too bad. Yeah, but I think that there's burnout also that happens, and I think that is perhaps a better explanation of what's happening for a lot of these people, where they just played a lot of games and they're just feeling a little burnt out. I've had that happen. I've had it happen. And for me, like, I think sometimes you just need a good reset, like a palate cleanser game. For me, it's usually like Red Dead 2. If I go back and replay Red Dead Redemption 2, doesn't matter how burnt out I was on gaming. After that, I am rejuvenated. in the light of almighty Arthur. Like that's my palate cleanser. The Tesla YouTube channel is currently streaming a crypto scam. What? Is it the actual Tesla channel or is it a bunch of fake ones? Because this is the actual Tesla channel. And they don't have anything. They're not streaming right now. So I don't think you're looking at the right channels. I think you're looking at stuff like this, which is just nonsense, it seems. I don't know. Doesn't look real. I think it was the same with Jedi Survivor, which got overshadowed by the bad performance at launch, but for me, it was one of my favorite games of the year. Tesla is streaming. Can I link it? It won't let you link it. Like, they're not streaming on YouTube. If they're streaming on X, like... No, I mean, even Tesla's not over here on X streaming. So I don't know. I don't see it. And if they are streaming like something, I don't know why we'd want to look at crypto scams, you know? Yeah, did you guys see that they're bringing Jedi Survivor to PS4 and Xbox One? They announced they were doing that like a year ago, but everybody kind of forgot about it. But apparently they're still doing it. Kaylor, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Super chat. Luke, I'm the same way with Red Dead 2. Oh, it's going to read it, I guess, in a second. I got excited.
Kaylor Matthews donated $9.99 through Super Chat. Luke, I'm the same way with RDR2. Love that game and love your content. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, we yeah, I it's just so good. It's just so good, dude. It's so good. I started I think Starfield. I think it's Starfield. Finally, after almost a year of sitting on it in my storage, and it's actually not bad. I'm having fun. I really love the way persuasion checks work. Yeah, JTG, you'll see in the critique when that goes up, my stance is that Starfield is not a bad game, but it's not a good game. It's just blech. It's just boring. And like, the more you play it, the more boring it'll get. And so you'll have to check back in with us in another stream or two and let us know what you think after you put some more time into it. Because in my opinion, the first 15 hours, I was like, this is the best game they've ever made. They've really done it. They somehow managed to do it. I'm amazed. And then the more I played and I started seeing the same locations over and over again, I was like, oh. And the more you play it, it's like, oh no. It's like that meme. Oh no. From whatever Planet of the Apes. Dude, that's like one of my favorite meme templates, is that ape just, oh no. I can't with it. I can't. Oh man. Yeah. It's just ugh. Total Malarkey. Love the username. That's awesome. It's Malarkey. It's Total Malarkey. It's gonna read it. The second I start reading it, it's gonna read it for me. Watch. Here's my Starfield question. Why wouldn't you just make a mod competition where the community makes the mods for you and you just pay out the top 10 in each category with like 5K each? Wouldn't it be cheaper and faster? I think the danger would just be that people would, you'd have to be very clear how you are breaking it up and how you're pricing stuff. So, or how you're gauging a successful a successful one. So like that unofficial Starfield patch that is the top downloaded mod in the Creation Club thing. That is that is something that would win all of those awards and get like first place, but it's not like, it's something that could be immediately invalidated if BGS were to release a patch for some of this stuff. And it's also required for a lot of other mods, so it has contingencies and stuff. You know, there's all sorts of layers to it. So I don't know. I think that they should pay modders more, frankly, because there's some reporting and some discussions that have said they only get about 25% of Creation Club sales, which is woof, but yeah. Yeah, exactly, Odin. It's not a Luke stream without our Starfield talk. Yeah, dude, it's like going home. It just makes you feel good. Just makes you feel good. Speaking of, should we see this? I don't think we ever watched this. If you're not familiar, Unscripted is a YouTube channel. Amazing stuff. You should absolutely subscribe and follow everything they do, because all these sound bites,
We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10.
are from these videos where he will take dialogue from like Todd doing interviews and then use it to train the AI model to then generate conversations to do honest conferences, to have these people say things that they wouldn't say in real life, but that honestly they probably should. So things like
Shout out to the chess club.
are all from these videos, in case you were wondering. So let's see this one. I don't think I've ever saw this one.
Honest conference, and for the first time ever, one of our industry's greatest creators, the director and executive producer of Bethesda Game Studios. That's right, Todd Howard, everybody. And Todd is here to give us an honest account of Starfield.
Thank you, Jeff. This is my first honest conference, and I'm doing it because you said how great the crowd is here. And
So Todd, we love you, and this is a safe space. You can let the truth out now. Why did you want to make this game, Starfield? Why did you want to create a new world?
we have dreamt of a game where we can truly break the creation engine in every aspect. Once you've all upgraded your PCs, you'll be able to explore thousands of barren planets where a real sense of loneliness will start setting in. I mean, we tried to do something new where you could explore with complete freedom in the galaxy. But something's wrong with the game,
But something's wrong with it. Is this where we got this? Have we seen this before?
Shout out to the
No, that's not it.
But something's wrong with the game.
Yeah, I guess, or maybe he copied it from another, I don't know.
I can't quite put my finger on it.
It can't be all that bad though, Todd.
Well, crafting is worse, outposts are worse, companions will constantly moan at you, perks are worse, there's fewer gear slots. You know, I could go on and on. Can you imagine 16 times the loading screens though?
Yeah, I wish I could talk
Yeah, I
about
think
the
we've
loading
seen
screens,
this.
but
I've definitely
it's
seen
quite
this.
an experience, and I know everyone here is very excited to experience it soon. So Todd, what bugs did you bring to HonestCon?
Yeah, it's really cool. We've built a 300-person seat theater where we're constantly looping bugs from the game.
And what's the experience like?
Well, to be honest, it's a real nightmare. They're gonna need to buckle up, and it's 2 hours they'll never get back. And I see a lot of things on the internet. I don't know.
To be honest, it's a real nightmare.
I'm sure that's real.
Let's move on to Quest then. Could you give us an example of what that's like?
Yeah, Jeff. As an example of a quest, you'll go to a star yard, talk to a lady, need to fetch a beverage. 10 loading screens later, and you've got a beverage. That's it. That's the only quest in that handcrafted location.
Surely there must be some improvements to the creation engine.
Hey, yeah. Just wait until you see what we've done with global illumination, bucket physics, artificial intelligence, character variation, and our brand new cutting-edge 2005 motion capture technology. Add to this, I honestly believe we have the worst UI in the world because, hey, you know, the modders will fix that. And
I honestly believe we have the worst UI in the world. And honestly, it's pretty rough. What's really funny is, well, I'll let this play out, and then we'll get to it. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, we'll let this play out.
After 100 hours in the game, I still have no idea where anything is in New Atlantis. I honestly have zero clue where my penthouse apartment is.
And any Metacritic predictions for this, Todd?
We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen this.
It's such an awkward experience, and hopefully a nail in the coffin for the creation engine. But Todd, you and your team have played such a pivotal role in game development and have created some of our fondest childhood memories. We'll still buy the game and chalk this all up to experience. And now at least we can look forward to Elder Scrolls 6. So thank you for all you've done for our industry, Todd. Everyone, Todd Howard.
Thank you. Shout out to the Chess Club.
Shout out to the Chess Club.
Thanks so much, Todd. Really appreciate it.
On this conference.
Man, it's so amazing that I blocked it from my memory.
You on my mind a lot. Don't need no time, watch.
And then just some casual dancing. So with the UI point, this is what I was going to bring up. There are leaks. I have this because I am doing that big critique on the game. And where is it? I have a bunch of things linked and outlined and all sorts of stuff. So here, the initial leaks. This is a collection. This post is from after the fact. But some of these leaks happened. I think they originally were dropping it like around the 2017-18 era, but they were allegedly from a build that was much older. So it was not indicative of the current state. But what I wanted to point to is just how similar the UI is in this early build, which allegedly was like 2017, as a build, like 6 years before the game would eventually release. And you can see that the UI is like largely unchanged. It's pretty much the same. And a lot of games will go through waves of alteration where they'll have like the first round will have kind of a worker placeholder UI, and then they'll update and update and update it. And it seems like Todd very early on, Todd and the team settled on what they wanted the UI to kind of look like, and they just committed to it. Even though it wasn't super functional or didn't make the most sense, they just stuck to it, which was just funny. Yeah, these are very old. It was back when people thought Redfall was Elder Scrolls 6. What's also funny, dude, is people thought back in the day that Starfield, when the trademark was filed, this is an archived article I found. Let it load. This is from 2013. So this is a matter of weeks after Starfield as a trademark was filed. People thought initially that Starfield was a DLC for Skyrim, which is just really funny to think about that, like, well, yeah, well, actually in a decade, you're going to get the actual game. But back in the day, people thought that this was initially a Skyrim DLC. And then this report kind of breaks it down as like, nope, it's probably not. Sounds like it's going to be a new IP. A shooter, perhaps? Sure would end up being that. So it's just kind of funny to see how things have shifted and evolved, My eyes are so freaking dry, dude. It's so bad. Oh, we went on like a 3 to 4 mile walk yesterday, and it just, I don't know if it's something in the air or what, but it's just destroyed me. I'm a mess. Makes sense to think that. Well, yeah, I mean, you think back in the age of like Skyrim, like you don't know any better. You don't know what you're missing out on or what they're working on. So could line up. Okay. And here we go. It's just so funny every time. Every time. We really wanted to find a way to break the creation engine in every way possible. Yeah, I wish we got another Skyrim DLC instead of Starfield. Oh, man. It's just, I think with a lot of stuff with Starfield, it's like they came up with the idea early on, and then they just stuck with it, even when they probably should have changed it, Get some eye drops. I didn't realize eye drops expire within like a few months. I did have some eye drops from like last summer, and they're all expired, so I've got to go to the store again. But I don't get out much, so. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, this is breaking news. We can point to this. Where's the tab? This is breaking news right here. A news segment. Do you guys like zombie games? Like old school zombie games? Do you guys like those? I love dearly the old school Dead Rising games. Those old games where you're playing as Frank West running through a mall, and it's just like pure escapist fun and stupidity, where you create like a weapon that's just a lawnmower hat and you put it on a zombie's head and it just through the zombie. Stuff like that. Well, the Dead Rising franchise has been kind of ignored for a while because Dead Rising 4 released in like 2016, I think, 2016, and it was kind of rubbish. So they haven't really done anything with it. But Capcom just made an announcement with regard to the 2004 masterpiece that was Dead Rising. They just did. They just did. Experience this with me. And then I'll read the super chat. Thank you, Malarkey. Just a second.
Say, buddy, you mentioned something about research for a story. Frank West.
Remember that name, because the whole world's gonna know it in 3 days.
Yeah. What? It's like a Giga remaster. They're not saying remake. So it's going to play just like the original, presumably. But they are doing that. And they say in 2024. So probably by the end of this year, maybe around Halloween. So there you go. There you go. Looks like it's a different voice actor. Which I don't know why they would need to do that. Must be rights or paperwork, something legal related. But still, I'm kind of down for that because I love the original. The original, I remember playing like early high school, going over to friends' places, and we would just stay up all night playing this. It was one of the games that we would play like during those sleepovers, but it was just us like staying up all night trying to play video games. And it was awesome. I remember getting the big carton of Goldfish, the extra cheesy kind. And then you go and you get a big gallon jug of chocolate milk. Not the True Moo. You got to get the store brand because it's thicker and tastier. You save money and it's better. And then you down Goldfish and chocolate milk. It will turn your insides into concrete and you will not be able to become regular for days. Dare I say weeks. But it will be well worth it. I will tell you what. Well worth it. Those are the days, man. I look back on it, I'm like, wow. I used to basically just consume plaster of Paris as a meal. Because that's basically what Goldfish and chocolate milk is. It solidifies. How I'm alive today, I don't know, but it was wonderful. No, Ceaseless Discharge is Taco Bell or Arby's. I once got Arby's from a mall cafeteria. That shit was chemical warfare, I'll tell you what. That was not cool. They were trying to kill me, I swear to God. Enigma, thank you for resubbing with Prime. Thank you, my friend. And Total Malarkey, thank you for the 10. Very generous. What I meant was you would have a conversation category with UI stuff, fixes, overhauls, but then a category for ship modules, buildings, guns, etc., plus goodwill and content which needs it badly. Oh, so like the top mods in each category. I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah, that could actually be really cool if you added like, you had a category for quests and you can download quests, and then you have like a review system where people can rate it 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever. And then whichever, like you maybe do a balancing where it's popularity mixed with reviews, and the highest reviewed ones with the most popularity get the payout. Or maybe you gauge it based off of hours played, or yeah, anyway, there's ways that they could do it. I totally agree, Total Malarkey. And that would, I think, be much better for the modders than what they're doing now, from what I understand. So modders have officially given up on Starfield, right? No, the co-op play together mod team gave up on it. There are still mods being made for it, but a lot of them are just really, really crappy. Some of them are cool, but are ridiculously overpriced. Just go watch the video I did on the main channel. Just uploaded it earlier today. Where I spent like $30 on a bunch of paid mods to try them. Because I was like, I'm sick of people just saying like, no, it's actually really good, or they're actually way worse than you think. I was like, I'll just try them myself. So I bought the mods for the video and tried it, and some of them are cool. There's like a $5 Crimson Fleet room pack that I thought was pretty good. There's a couple of others that are pretty good. The companion, you can basically just buy a companion for $5 that's fully professionally voice acted, and that stuff is awesome. But then there's others where it's like, here's for $1 a gun that buffs your health, and I can't even tell if it works. Or the official $7 quest line from Bethesda that has garnered all this controversy is so broken you cannot reload the gun that you get as a reward for it. It's unbelievable. Like, it's unbelievable. It's just baffling. Like, you go through this $7 quest. Already it kind of sucks that you have to pay $7 for a quest. But then the gun you get as the reward for the quest, you can't reload it. So you can fire 4 shots and then it's useless. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. And people will still defend it. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, how Todd was able to do an interview that's like an hour long with somebody like Maddie and nobody brings that up. Like, once again, Todd, you're selling broken stuff. Did anybody try it before you uploaded it? Like, literally a single person? It's ridiculous. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. Anyway. So yeah, Dead Rising, that's a thing. There's only Maddie in the room though. Well, I was hoping that maybe somebody would poke their head out from around the corner and be like, I'll ask the tough questions. Just because it's just straight up that Jesse Pinkman thing. He can't keep getting away with it. That's exactly what this is, where it's like, bro, just somebody needs to tell Todd, why do you keep releasing stuff you know is broken and selling it to your fans? That should not be okay. You should be ashamed. Like, I just want to know the explanation. How on earth do you release a $7 quest that's about 30 minutes long? You're selling this to people, and it is so bugged that the weapon that is the reward for the quest doesn't work. And you still chose to release it. Like the free update for Fallout 4's next gen patch, whatever, that just breaks all the mods and everything. Okay, it's free. So like at the very least, you didn't pay for your game to get broken. It just happened. But in this case, you're literally paying to get something that doesn't work. And there's no pushback. There's nothing. There's just nothing. Everybody's just like, stars and jetpacks, and I like Starfield, and I like Skyrim. That's all it is. It's just. I think you're just jelly of Maddie. Oh, have you seen his hair? Hell yeah, I'm jelly of Maddie. Like, yeah. In other news, the sky is blue. Yeah, you got it. Stunning, right? Oh man, yeah, you pay per bullet. Maybe that's what they're revving up for. Yeah, I must not have downloaded the ammo DLC. My bad, guys.
Dylan Schnur donated $10 through Super Chat. What are your thoughts on the new college football game coming out next month? I really want to try it out, but it was made by EA, so obviously I am a little skeptical.
Yeah, I saw in that interview that Todd was all giddy about it. I'll be honest, I don't really play sports games. I haven't for a long time. Back when I was like in my teens, I would play Madden a lot with friends. It's a good social game, you know, but other than that, I really have not played a lot of sports games. So I don't really know what to expect from it. I don't even really know the distinction between the college football stuff and Madden, other than just rosters and teams being different, but maybe that's enough for people to get excited. I know some people are really into college football and not really the NFL. So it might just be that. I don't know though. I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. EA's been doing some pretty decent work recently. You know, they had a hell of a rough patch for about a decade. A bit of a patch. That's not a rough patch. That's a rough highway. But yeah, it's just, they've been doing better. One of their EA original games won Game of the Year. People forget about that. It's like by Hazelight, but it was published by EA. Like they're the ones that funded it and greenlit it and helped make it happen. I think they deserve some credit for that. That's pretty impressive. So EA's been doing pretty good. Maybe they're turning a corner. Famous last words, right? Flash forward like 6 months. EA releases the most broken thing ever. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Dylan, I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out. I've always liked the idea of being into sports games, but I've just never gotten into them myself. You know, like I could see getting into it and liking going through the motions of keeping up with the team and what's happening and all that, but I just have never actually done it. Is Free Roam on today? I don't actually know. I haven't heard from Mr. Jor. Last time when I was unsure if he was coming on, he ended up coming on, and it was just like, you know, he didn't feel the need to, we didn't feel the need to message each other beforehand. So I'm hopeful it happens today. Fingers crossed. Anyway, what else was I going to do? I don't remember. Let's look back on Dead Rising 4. That seems like it could be fun. News segment. Oh yeah, he was streaming earlier today. You're right. Also, just so you guys know, nobody needs to do this. Let me be very, very clear. Nobody needs to do this. This is purely optional. If you want the chance, I'll just tell you about it now real quick, and then we'll get to the next topic. But as you guys know, we're working on this big Starfield critique video. It's coming soon. But we haven't, of course, done like the final renders or anything yet. So if you want to have like your name in the credits, if you want a verbal shout out, if you want to see the critique early before everybody else, if you want to see exclusive Patreon videos and stuff that are only going to go up on Patreon, then you can check out the Patreon page that just launched earlier today. I'll just plop it in chat. Again, no obligation. The video is going to go live for everybody anyways, so everybody will still see it. But we are launching the Patreon to help bankroll more critiques and bigger projects that are more time consuming. So if you feel so inclined, that's there. If not, absolutely no worries. The critiques and everything will go up for everybody anyways. I also tried very intently to keep the tiers as low as I could so that it's accessible. But again, even if it doesn't work, don't stress it. Totally fine. My hope is that if the Patreon does well and starts picking up steam, that we can do like really big projects. Like say we're doing a critique of what would be like Plague Tale Requiem. Like I think it would be awesome if we get the support there to be able to like fly to the studio, maybe meet with the devs, talk to them about the creative process and how the game came about. Like do things like that right now just would be impossible to kind of monetarily justify. But if that Patreon gets built up and the support's there, we could do some really cool things. So fingers crossed. But again, if you can't support, do not feel bad. Do not stress it. It is purely optional. But if you want your name in the credits, verbal shout outs, exclusive videos, stuff like that, that is there for you. How much is the tier where you shoot your feet? Asking for a friend. Oh, where you get the foot pics. It's like, what was Luke's exclusive patron video this week or this month? He just filmed himself getting a pedicure, and it was just ASMR of a pedicure for 45 minutes. It was really weird. Really weird. Oh man. Anyway, so that's there for you to consider. Totally up to you. But I thought I would mention it. Okay. Have I seen The Acolyte? No, I don't have the strength because I keep seeing clips like this where she gives herself a lightsaber haircut. At this point, I don't know if it's parody or what's going on, but that's, yeah, I don't know. I think that was supposed to be cool. The slow pan in, I think you're supposed to be like, that was badass, but who knows? I can't keep up with that anymore. Anyway, new segment. Okay, so as I said earlier with the announcement of a remaster for the original Dead Rising coming by the end of this year, I'm a fan of Dead Rising. I like these games. I like how irreverent they were, how just outrageous they were. I found it really fun back in the day. But Dead Rising is one of those franchises that just got abused. Like it had so much potential. People loved it. And then they started giving it to teams that just frankly didn't really know what they were doing with the franchise or why the franchise was successful to begin with. And so they started doing things that were just not at all what they needed to do, and actively upset the fan base. So they made a really generic game that upset the core fan base, and then they're surprised it didn't find any success. So in this video from 7 years ago, from the one and only Krabbycat, he breaks it down very well using clips of the actual devs, just showcasing their thought process. And it's genuinely baffling because you're like, how did anybody go along with this?
Take a look at this.
The whole Dead Rising franchise has been known for mayhem and just killing tons and tons of zombies. And we've kind of upped the ante for Dead Rising 4.
Frank is back. That's why we have our hashtag Frank's back.
Okay.
Frank's back. Frank is back.
Frank is cooler, he's tougher, a little wiser, but he's still Frank.
Frank's mellowed with age now. He's 16 years older. He's 54. He's still Frank. But, you know, his sense of humor is better.
It'll be fine.
Better. Whenever I hear a director or a writer say that somebody's sense of humor is better, I always brace because I'm like, oh God.
You need to relax.
Yeah, she says before the screaming starts.
Ugh.
You messed with my camera again, right?
You're a quick one.
That's what she said.
But we don't want to force funny down people's throats. We want the gamer to decide what's funny and what's not. We have some amazing voice acting in the game. You know, we think we've really captured what we really wanted Frank to be all along.
What are you doing?
Why I love Frank West?
It's that thing where like somebody's trying to be really funny and it just doesn't land. Like nothing is more unfunny than someone trying to be funny who isn't funny. You know, like that's where cringe happens. When somebody's trying really hard and it just doesn't land. Like my videos are a perfect example. You know, it's just, yeah, if you try too hard, sometimes it makes it way worse than if you just didn't try at all.
He has the biggest balls I've ever seen of any game character.
He has the best off assortment of weapons you've ever seen.
Frank's just an kicking, talking, bullshit mother.
We're really excited to bring Frank West back. More ways to kill him, more combo vehicles.
What in the
we brought back our favorite character, Frank, and we still maintain what was really core to Dead Rising. I think you guys are gonna love it.
We have a couple of fine gentlemen from Capcom Vancouver, from the Dead Rising 4 team. Joe Nichols, studio director. Nice to meet you,
Thank you very
sir.
much.
And Bryce Cochran, the executive producer on the game. Guys, thanks for coming.
Game makers everywhere think they know what they want to make all the time. And it isn't until you get in front of normal human beings where they start playing the game and you see what they do. And they just...
This is an important point to just take in. So Joe Nichols, again, these guys are probably very, very nice people. Nobody's doubting that. Nobody should bully them. Like they're just doing the best that they know how to do. But their previous work before Dead Rising 4, his was Connect Joyride, Connect Sports Season 2, Joyride Turbo, and then Bryce, he worked at 343, worked on Halo, EA Sports, and FIFA. None of them had experience with Dead Rising. None of them had ever made a game like this before. And I think you can kind of tell because these games are kind of pop culture. They're trying to go for a very broad, generic audience. You know, EA Sports and FIFA, yeah, those can be very broad and generic, and they'll do better than if they were more niche. Same with like Connect Joyride or Sports or Joyride Turbo and stuff like that. Those games don't need to be super hella grounded or anything or have really unique takes. And so it just seems like an odd choice to give these guys the Dead Rising 4 sequel, you know? Seems like a bold choice.
want to mess stuff up. They just want to go around and knock stuff around. They want to blow things up. They want to do stupid things in the game. And so it's our mission to create stupidity tools for the user.
So do you guys, do you task the team with going back and playing Dead Rising 1, 2, 3, just 3, all of them, 1? Like, is there one you kind of want to, of the 3 games, is there one in particular you want to kind of point the team to with this game?
Great question. If you're making a sequel, you would think they would encourage you to like do some research on what you're making a sequel to, right? You would think, right?
To say let's kind of look more here and build off this.
For us, I think we were really looking at our roots and going back to 1. But
that's the correct answer, by the way.
Oh,
yes.
Great.
Why are you kicking me?
But 1, we really wanted to go back to our roots.
Yeah.
We were bringing Frank back. It's the 10th anniversary, and we really wanted to recapture the original magic and bring it up to the level the game systems can do now.
So how important is going to be the like one big thing about Dead Rising is you see a lot of like people you have to go save and join your party. Are we going to see more of that in this one?
Yep, and it's better. I mean, it's not like I'm making the perfect game, right? It's better because before you'd help a survivor and they go, thanks. You just take off. It's like, well, that was worth it.
Yeah.
Now, when you help survivors, they drop loot.
Oh,
they
wow.
drop stuff for you, And sometimes it's amazing stuff. Sometimes they have a combo weapon in their jacket. In terms of the food, we've streamlined that too, because we've done it where you can go, you pick up the food and instantly put it into a separate inventory.
Oh,
and then you have all your little crosses on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then when you need to hit food, down on the D-pad, bam, fill it up. You know, you still see the animation of doing it, but you don't have to go and spend time to prepare the food.
Oh, man.
Because we found people really didn't like that.
It's not actually fun rummaging through your backpack trying to find a cheeseburger while you're trying to save humanity while zombies are attacking you. You want that part to be fast.
Also, the psychos are different this time around. You don't call them psychos anymore, right?
Yeah, you know what? The last game, and working with our partners at Microsoft, making sure that that we were listening to what people were saying. You always want to make sure that the characters feel like they belong in the world, and because we spent so much more time working on the story in this game, we wanted all of these psychos, characters, what do you want to call them, to feel like they lived in the world and not be placed in there because it's a video game.
Bring it, weirdo!
Similar to the psychopath.
Like, what was the point of that? So like a lot of this, you can see that they probably did some surveys of people that maybe didn't have a lot of experience with Dead Rising, and those people were like, oh yeah, I like to be able to just press down on the D-pad and heal. I like quick health packs. So they were like, okay, yeah, we'll streamline that. But that's part of like the identity of Dead Rising, is that it's not really supposed to be easy to just quickly pop health packs while you're running through hordes of zombies. It should be a little bit more involved. And that's kind of what those inventory systems are meant to simulate, is like rummaging through your bag as you're running away from zombies. It shouldn't be just a single press to just inject yourself with some sort of healing. It should be a little more involved. Furthermore, having to like mix things or cook things for better healing, that's one of those activities that can encourage you to engage with the game world much more frequently and in much more depth. Whereas when you just pick up a bag of chips and you pop it and it heals you for 20% of your health bar, there's no interactivity there. There's no reason to go look around for restaurants in the mall or wherever you are to cook up some food to make it heal you better. There's just no reason to do any of that. So they're finding ways to streamline it, but as part of that, they're finding ways to remove activities for the player and interactivity between the player and the world. And so it just makes everything feel really inconsequential. And then with this, the swapping of psychopaths for maniacs, they say it's because they wanted to make the characters feel more grounded and like they actually lived in the world. But like, you're still fighting an evil Santa, a pirate captain. Like, you're still doing all of that stuff. None of that's actually changed. It just seems like a change for the sake of changing stuff. Like, I just don't understand why they did that.
Of the previous Dead Rising games, the Maniacs are tough survivors who went nuts during the outbreak. They're optional encounters you'll find in the game, and you'll need to find some clues before you can fight them. But once you do, prepare yourself for a battle. These deranged survivors have minions and lots of health. You'll need every advantage you can get in this fight.
One of the
yeah, no narration or unique personality. That is one thing, like in the original Dead Rising game, for example, the psychos are like, they have kind of heartbreaking stories, a lot of them. And you almost feel bad for killing them in some cases. It's kind of fascinating how it worked. But in this case, it just seems like they wanted to do weird, wacky boss fights that were optional. And they didn't want to be bothered with going and adding any sort of interesting story element or anything like that into it. Yeah, Dead Rising 4 wasn't just bad or disappointing. Dead Rising 4 was abysmal. It was embarrassing. The biggest mistake of the Dead Rising series was, after the first one, Capcom shoving it off to Western developers. Well, it just seems like they really lost sight of why people liked it, you know?
And lots of health. You'll need every advantage you can get in this fight.
One of the complaints people have online is the voice actor.
Yep.
The voice changed. Why?
So, you know what, we did a lot of research, and we wanted to make Frank a little bit more mature. Because, like I said, Frank's in his 50s now, and so we did a lot of casting. And I do want to say that TJ was great. I mean, TJ, he did a great job for Frank, and we love the work that he did for us. But talking to a lot of the fans, they wanted to see where Frank was going to go and how was he going to mature and how was his story going to change. And so we went with someone new, and everyone that plays the game loves what Frank has become. They love his dialogue. The chemistry between Frank and all the new people and survivors is amazing, because Frank's had a pretty lousy life, and the things that he says in this game are amazing.
We're seeing
the not renewing voice actors thing. I get why some people could get really upset by it. I'm more like, I don't think that's, for a game like this, as crazy important, mostly because usually voice actors not being renewed has to do with like contractual BS, or like the actor wanted more money than they were willing to pay out, so they had to find somebody new because they just couldn't really justify it, you know? And so sometimes it's not as simple as just, oh, they just wanted to change it for the sake of changing it. Maybe that is what happened here, as he's kind of alluding to in his answer, but it could also be that they just were like, yeah, we couldn't meet in the middle on pricing and how much he was going to make, so we just went another direction. But he's not going to talk about that, because last thing you want to do when you're framing your game as really good is like, yeah, well, we were budgetarily limited, so we just couldn't do it. You know? But it's a weird excuse. It's a weird excuse to just be like, yeah, we wanted to show how he matured while he's still making like teenager jokes about everything.
Nighttime gameplay here. Has that element of the sort of zombies get fast at night? Has that?
Oh yeah, duh. Question: at night, are zombies still hyper aggressive?
Nighttime gameplay here. Has that element of the sort of zombies get fast at night? Has that been sort of removed in relation to these fresh zombies?
Yes. Yeah. They do like to stay in the shadows. They like to stay in the side streets. But yeah, we're not having them be more aggressive at night. They're just always there and always on you.
Yeah. In this game, in 4, are we going to see?
Like, again, they just are removing any variables or nuance to the game. You know, like, oh, can you cook food to make it heal you more? Are you going to make juggling the inventory a mechanic you have to think about when you're exploring the open world? So maybe you arrange your inventory in a certain way so that it's more effective when you're running away from zombies trying to heal quickly. Are those things that players have to consider? Are zombies more aggressive at night, as is kind of the standard trope? Turns out no, they've just stripped it all out. It's just super dumbed down.
You know, the same traditional like day and night cycles and like a hard day limit for when you have to be finished with the game?
No. So we've taken the time away.
Oh, wow.
Because we had a lot of, so what we did was we kept time in one place and we got rid of it in another. Because this game has got so much more side content and stuff to explore and find, we did a lot of testing, and we found that people could never complete the stuff in the amount of time, and then we had to give you so much time to do it that time meant nothing.
One of the, you know,
this is one thing that like is just genuinely baffling. It's like, again, it really feels like they never played the base game, because in the base game, yes, there's a time limit, but you don't have to follow in the time limit. Like if you say screw it and you don't finish the main story, or you fail an objective, or a survivor dies and the story ends, okay, you just get to go explore them all, do all the side content you wanted to do, and maybe you make a new save and you go through the main story after that. Like, it's okay to do multiple runs to see everything the game has to offer. But again, you can just see like they started with the presumption that you should be able to get through everything in the game, 100% completion run on your first run, and so we don't want any time limits or anything. But part of the fun thing with the time limits is it kept the player on pace. It kept them immersed in the world, because it was like, I can't just dilly-dally and do whatever I want. I need to go meet with this person by 6 a.m. Otherwise, they'll get swarmed by zombies and the story's over. Like, it keeps you in the world much more. And they just decided not to do that. It's why I've honestly been kind of excited at the prospect of Far Cry 7, which is rumored to be using a similar mechanic as the original Dead Rising, with a timed main story quest where you have to complete certain objectives within a certain amount of real world time, which is kind of cool. A little bit different. I think it does well for motivating players.
Wonderfully unique things about the first game was the time constraint.
Oh yeah, and a timed solo DLC will be available in the season pass only. Yeah, so they took the thing people liked and then they stripped it out, saying people didn't actually like it, but we will sell it to you for extra on the side. I thought people didn't like it though. Yeah, but you can buy it separate.
Constraints and whatnot, and obviously Zombrex in the second game. Right. A lot of that was sort of like left by the wayside. I mean, there was elements of it in 3. Are you going to reintroduce some of that into Dead Rising 4?
We're not doing time elements in this right now, and there is no cure currently in this game.
Right.
we wanted to really allow players to explore our world more than they've been able to in the past. With the time element in there, you weren't able to go into every store and look everywhere.
We do a lot of user research. We send a ton of research out, and we do a lot of Q&A with people, and we found out that people, it was okay. Some people really liked it, but more people didn't like it because they wanted to be able to go, you know what? You ended my game, and I was so close, and I don't want to have to go do that all again.
Right.
You know, they didn't want to have that pressure. And so what we wanted to do is we really wanted to make sure the world was really open, lots of side missions, lots of stuff to discover, and let people, it's still the same Dead Rising, but we've taken some stuff away and added a ton more.
I think sometimes asking people what they want is not actually useful, because I think a lot of people don't know what they want. And when you are trying to force them to answer you with what they do want or what they like and don't like, they might not be able to put it into words. You know, I truly believe if you did a mass survey anonymously of like Elden Ring and you sent that out for previews and stuff, and just your average casual gamer tried to play Elden Ring, you'd get a lot of feedback that it was too difficult. The bosses spammed to text too much. The AoEs were too big, and the hitboxes were kind of too precise. I kind of wish that they were easier to hit. Enemies were easier to hit. You'd go through all these survey questions, and the average casual gamer would give you a lot of feedback that would end up dumbing down Elden Ring to the point where it's just boring. Like it would be so generic, it'd be uninteresting in every way. And I think that this is another example of that sort of game design by committee really doing a lot of damage, because I think by asking a lot of those people, hey, do you like the time constraints? Should we get rid of the time constraints? They're like, actually, yeah, get rid of the time constraints, because I don't like having constraints on my time. When in reality, that was one of the things that helped players that were into these types of games get through it and stay immersed all the way through. You know, sometimes I think there's just you can ask too many questions, and there is something to be said for like analysis paralysis, and then also having a visionary work on the game. A director that is like, no, the time constraint is part of the game's identity. That's what we're doing. Just like Miyazaki, the difficulty is part of the game's identity. We're not getting rid of it. No matter how many people in surveys complain about it, no matter how many people mass downvote the game on Steam or this or that, doesn't matter. We're sticking to our guns, because that's what we do. We make our piece of art, whether people love it or not, and we just trust that it will connect with some people. And sure enough, it does. But with something like this is just designed by surveys and spreadsheets, and it shows.
We also really want to encourage killing zombies. Right. Yeah, and if you're under a time constraint, and you see that big group of zombies, and you're like, oh, I want to do it, but sometimes you can't. We want to let the players just go to town on as many zombies as possible.
It always ends up being a thing for me where I'm like, I'm running low on time, and I'm like, I've got 2 survivors, like I got to pick one of the 2, and it's like, well, not getting a perfect run this time, all right.
Yeah.
Like,
and then people say, oh, I could just go play it again.
Yeah.
People don't want to play it again to get that one other thing.
Yeah.
Well, that should be telling if people are playing your game and saying, I don't want to have to keep playing this to get another thing. If your game is good, people should just want to keep playing it indefinitely, right? Like if the game is good, they can't get enough. So if people are saying, yeah, I don't want to play any more of this, I just want to be done with it. maybe that's a red flag you should have noticed.
So
that's cool. I appreciate that you're listening to feedback from the gamers.
Yeah, you know what, we get a lot of feedback. Of course, we can't respond to everything, but we really try to at least acknowledge that. We get a lot of it in, and it's important because the people who play our games, they're who we're making the game for. So we have to please the most people that we can.
Yeah.
We will try any crazy idea as long as it's going to be fun, right? We would only knock down something if it's going to be too diehard, too intense.
We really wanted to focus on making sure that we could give fans more of what they were asking for, and they all wanted more and more and more zombies.
And we would try to tailor the experience for as wide an audience as possible.
Right, does that mean the same save system from the previous game is going to be the same?
Oh, Oh yeah, in the original games, you had to go to bathrooms to save, so it was this kind of thing of stress, almost like in a Souls-like game where you're going and you have to find the bonfires or the sites of grace or whatever to save, and it creates this added level of stress and pressure that I got to get past this wave of zombies. High stakes, because I've got this great stuff. I don't want to die and have to go all the way back to that previous save. Oh, okay. I'm sweating bullets, but I'm going to do it. That's part of what made these games so engaging, is that there was that stress. There was that anxiety of overcoming those challenges. And they just stripped it all out here.
No, actually, you don't have to go to the bathroom to save, kind of thing. You know, we've made stuff like that a little bit easier.
Will we see a return of like the classic multiple endings with Dead Rising, you know, depending on what you do?
We're keeping mum on that.
Okay.
We're going back to our roots. We brought back Frank West, which is a huge fan favorite, and our fans have been asking us to bring him back. And we're also going back to the roots.
We're big fans of the game ourselves at the studio.
You can't say that you're going back to your roots while changing everything about the roots. Like, we went back to our roots and then tore the roots out of the ground and put a new pretty bush in there. Like, that's just not how that works.
And so we wanted to make sure that we're honoring Dead Rising and where it comes from.
It is the 10th year anniversary of our game, and we wanted to go back to our roots.
Dead Rising 4 is better, it's faster, it looks amazing. We have more zombies, more ways to kill them, more combo vehicles, a whole new mystery to solve. We brought back our favorite character, Frank, and we still maintain what was really core to Dead Rising. I think fans are going to love it.
Something is horribly wrong in the small town of Willamette. The mall has become the breeding ground of unspeakable mayhem. As veteran photojournalist Frank West, you suspect a terrifying conspiracy of epic proportions. You have 72 hours to uncover the story of a lifetime.
Dude, I love it.
The only way to survive is to grab whatever you can get your hands on.
Carlito! Did I remember these fights? Oh, the butcher, yeah.
Did you just say zombies? Take a look out there. If those ain't zombies, what would you call
You kill NPCs and fail the story as a result? Hey, just keep going. But like that again, it's like when they say, yeah, people didn't like the time limits because then they couldn't do what they wanted to do. It's like, well, you could. Like, did they not play the game? I get the impression that they never actually played the game, that they were criticizing, saying that they wanted to change it. All the while saying they're returning to their roots. They're going back to the roots of the franchise, and then they just didn't at all. But this is getting a remaster. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, that.
It's just a restaurant. It's a nice restaurant. But it always has been there.
Games have to evolve.
Right.
You can't just keep serving up the same burger year after year after year. You have to put new things out for people. And I think that's what we've done with Dead Rising. We've focused on the stuff that people love. We've added some new stuff, and we've improved some stuff.
Now, how do you think that went? How do you think that went? Do you think it was received really well? Do you think people got super stoked on it? I believe it's the technical term. Let's look up the Metacritic for it. Metacritic Dead Rising 4. User ratings 4.9. Critic ratings of 72. I've seen worse, honestly. IGN, Xbox Addict, Atomics, Gaming Age, Hobby, Level Up, IGN. Let's see what they said at the time. Games Radar also an 8 out of 10. What are some of the bad ones? Let's see. Do we recognize any of these? Games Beat. We could pull that up. And Slant, Polygon. Oh, Polygon always has funny reviews. Let's see. Let's see what they got. So they go through Time to Kill. Biggest change makes to the traditional Dead Rising formula is removal of the countdown timer that has forced you to rush through the objectives and make tough calls to bypass potentially interesting side quests, negating that sense of urgency earlier games did well. But I found I didn't miss it much because there's too much to see and do and squish to be satisfied by just 72 in-game hours as we had in the original. There's an exhausting number of collectibles and weapon blueprints to find, side mysteries to uncover and solve through investigations, and hidden graffiti art to photograph. Now you're free to meander, exploring, get lost in the larger, denser version of Willamette. They liked the removal. They liked it. Oh, God. Come on. Come on. Yeah, it was also super buggy. Come on. Okay, it's not working. Okay, moving on. Games Radar, 4 stars out of 5. Frank West is the charming anti-hero you can't help but love. The Willamette Memorial Megaplex is an exciting labyrinth to explore. The removal of the timer means you can have fun at your own pace. The majority of Willamette is sleepy, uninspiring blur. The story lacks a satisfying villain, and too many objectives turn into retreads of the same old routes. Just kind of samey. Okay. Okay. What did Venture Beat say? Dead Rising 4 is a mind-numbing slog despite its near-endless array of weapons. It just had too much stuff. Dead Rising 4 is like a digital stress ball. It can be a cathartic to let loose and kill thousands of zombies whenever you want, but it doesn't have much else going for it, even with the charming Christmas setting and a compelling multiplayer mode. If you're a diehard Dead Rising fan, you might get more out of the story than I did. Like the characters mentioned earlier, the narrative is not very interesting. It mostly served as a way to push me to different parts of the map. Without the technical oddities, Dead Rising 4 is a mediocre experience, but I have to dock it down a few more points just for that baffling performance in the last mission. What's the... Yeah, frustrating bugs. It can render thousands of zombies on screen without a hitch, but it does have a few nagging issues. Sometimes the button prompts that let you know when you can open a door or pick up a weapon disappear, and the only way I got around that was by walking away for a few seconds and coming back to the object. Every once in a while, human survivors popped up in the middle of a big horde, and that made it almost impossible to rescue them. Actually, I'm not sure if that counts as a bug, but it was still annoying because saving people helps you level up emergency shelters, which in turn give you more items you can buy from their vendors. Dead Rising 4 also crashed twice, once in single player mode and once during a multiplayer match. abruptly sending me back to the Xbox One's dashboard. But the most egregious hiccup was during the last mission, which was missing half of its dialogue and subtitles. The characters still mouthed the words, but nothing came out. The awkward silence ruined one of Dead Rising 4's few emotional moments. I reached out to Microsoft to see if an upcoming patch will address these problems, and I'll update this if I hear back. Did they ever respond? Doesn't look like it. Okay, and Polygon. What did they say? They gave it an 8 as well. Survival Woods, there's one potential lifeline, Dead Rising 4's multiplayer component. This also came out at a time when, like, doing multiplayer stuff was just such a... Like, immediately. It was coming out at the perfect time for people to just rage about it. It was like minus 1 to the score for players specifically if they were doing that. Throughout my time with Dead Rising 4, I never hit a show-stopping bug that halted my progress in the game, but I did see some occasional weirdness. At one point, Maniac side mission wouldn't complete, and character models occasionally got stuck on vehicles or other geometry. A number of reviewers at other sites also reported more serious issue with the game, including severe glitches and freezing in the final case. I didn't encounter that problem, but it warrants caution, and I'll be checking forums and other venues to see if this was a persistent thing or a limited event. With that in mind, consider this review provisional until we can determine more about the launch state of the game. That's interesting that they half announce it or half review it, and they're like, yeah, we'll update it later if it's bad. What else have they done? Successor, the Coalition. Oh. As Capcom Vancouver, they were working on Knights of Aegis and Dead Rising 5. Oh. Dead Rising 5 and Capcom Vancouver's shuttering attributable to executive and communication issues. Independent games journalist Liam Robertson, under the Did You Know gaming brand and his own series of game history secrets, just dropped a huge report on the events leading to Capcom Vancouver's closure. What's this? Oh, we might have to check this out. Goes in detail what happened. According to the report, Capcom Vancouver had several issues since Dead Rising 2, which led to a lot of problems through Dead Rising 3. This led to Dead Rising 5 starting development alongside 4 with a totally new team of developers brought in for fresh ideas. The project even moved from Capcom's Forge engine to Unreal Engine 4, which led to significant structural changes compared to the previous games. What the team started with was a smaller game set between Dead Rising 2 and 3, which would have allowed 2 players to enjoy co-op with the returning Chuck and Katie Green. Leadership ended up changing drastically over a few years, with the scope changing to something more open world and Ubisoft-like, then leaping back in the opposite direction towards Dark Souls. Okay. As that version of Dead Rising 5 development progressed, Capcom back in Japan wasn't okay with such a drastic shift, and that was that. While figuring out what to do next, the decision was made to cut their losses, and the Vancouver office was shut down following a huge round of layoffs. Oof. Woof. Oh, man. Yeah, trying to go from small and more focused to big Ubisoft-like, and then shifting back towards Dark Souls for that. I don't know, that that doesn't sound like it would work that well. Apparently it didn't, because they shut the studio down. Huh. Okay, well, that's why we haven't gotten another one. But maybe with the announcement of a remaster, a big remaster that they're doing, maybe we see a reveal of, like, maybe sequels are going to come. Maybe we're going to see something like that happen, potentially, if this does well. That'd be my hope. I mean, honestly, that was my hope with LA Noire. Because LA Noire, they announced that frickin' remaster, but that was a while ago. So LA Noire remastered. That was like, what, 2020? I want to say. When they dropped that? Wasn't that a while ago? LA Noire Remastered Edition 2020, 2021. Let's see. Release and promotion. Re-release. I thought it was more... I thought it was further back than that. Yeah, 2020... 2017? Okay, I don't know. Whenever that came out, I was hoping that it would be better received and that we would then see like an announcement of a big re-release or of a remake or of a sequel or something, but it doesn't seem like that is going to happen. Seems like they've been sitting on it and we're not going to see it, which is a bummer because I love LA Noire, but maybe we're going to get more luck with the freaking Dead Rising thing. Maybe we get another revamp of that franchise. It was November of 2017. Oh, dude. Assassin's Creed Shadow of the Big Tree. It became so weirdly directionless. It makes no sense since the concept was perfect from game one. Yeah, you can tell during the discussions of Dead Rising 4 that the directors and producers, they were like, well, we have to change stuff. We have to add something, and you can't just tread water forever. And so I think that was some of the feedback from Dead Rising 3 is that they didn't feel like enough was really shifted and changed other than like graphical improvements. So they were like, okay, let's really change some stuff. And oh golly, excuse me, I need to down more coffee. But I think what they basically ended up doing was instead of adding new interesting mechanics, they just cut away the interesting mechanics and replaced them with really generic stuff. Like getting rid of the timer. I can understand the argument for why they thought that was a good idea, but it doesn't follow, you know, like it doesn't follow necessarily that that will make the game better. Evolving a concept versus just changing it is a whole different thing. Shame they couldn't enhance it. Yeah, well, and when you boil it down, it's like, what are you changing that adds to this? Like, what is improving based on these changes you're making? And it's like, well, players can play through the whole thing without having to worry about time limits. Okay. You could say that that's like trying to attempt a positive change. Okay. Then you could shift it and be like, maybe just more content is better and is an improvement. I'm like struggling to find ways that you could say that Dead Rising 4 was like a major improvement, because pretty much every aspect of it just seems like a downgrade, you know? But anyway, that happened and people were not super stoked on it, seems. Okay. One game franchise I'd love to see come back is Spec Ops. Spec Ops The Line was a great game. Yeah, it's just hard to differentiate it. Like, how do you make that really sound unique, and how do you pitch that in a unique way? I think that's much harder to figure out, you know? It's too bad though, because man, I loved Dead Rising back in the day, but okay. What's funny also is like this revelation, just like, this is how much the industry has changed. Okay. This is like sort of not quite news segment or anything, but just look at this. So Krabby Cat, now that we just watched that video, this is in my recommended feed, but look at this. Oh, sorry. I'll let it play.
Blake Rogers donated $5 through Super Chat.
Thank you, my friend.
One series I'm surprised Capcom isn't touching is Onimusha, especially with the current samurai craze happening. It's been well over a decade.
Part of it is, I don't think Onimusha has a lot of name recognition. They did do the Warlords, I just Googled it. They did the Warlords remaster in 2018. And they are doing that. Aren't they doing the Netflix anime as well? So they're sort of doing something with it. But it, like, the tough thing with following in these crazes, like following in the current samurai, you know, Japan craze that's currently happening, is that all of that stuff has to be greenlit like 4 or 5 years ago. So you have to kind of see the craze coming down the road and then prepare for it. And I just don't think that they did that. You know, I just don't think they did that. But anyway, what I was saying, thank you for the super chat. What I was saying is this just got recommended to me, and it's funny to look at now because it's the little video he did on Mass Effect Andromeda, and it's 5 years and $40 million. You get Mass Effect Andromeda. And so at the time, the idea that they spent $40 million making Mass Effect Andromeda was like so hilariously stupid because it's like that game ended up being really, really rough. Nowadays, $40 million is a drop in the freaking bucket. That's nothing. Like, at all. You guys remember Immortals of Avium? You guys remember this? This game cost about 80 million, twice as much as Andromeda. Cost $80 million to put together, and then they spent another 40 million marketing it. And it ended up being just a total colossal flop, unfortunately, for the devs. It just seems like it was an idea, like a very, very capable team, but it was an idea that just didn't really connect with anybody. It might find some like long-lasting success, become a cult classic or something in the long term, who knows, but it just didn't connect with anybody. People just weren't that interested. It just didn't come off and connect with anybody. But yeah, this game costs twice as much as Mass Effect Andromeda, reportedly. The Witcher 3, for example, cost an estimated $80 million to put together. So The Witcher 3 cost as much as this game. Granted, we're talking about large periods of time passing between. So it's not like it's directly comparable because inflation and everything factors into this. But it's still wild just how expensive games are now. For example, Forspoken, it's rumored that Forspoken cost somewhere between $100 and $200 million and was a total flop. It's also said that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League caused a roughly $200 million loss for Warner Brothers. 200 million. It's unbelievable. So in hindsight, Andromeda wasn't that big of a flop. You know, it's like, nowadays when one of these big AAA games flops, it's horrible. Like, it's devastating. Back in the day, it was only 40 million. You know, only 40.
RX11 is now a member.
Yeah.
Milestone message I will have over here on the live channel, but don't worry, I'll be on the new Patreon.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate you. 11 months, hell yeah. And yeah, thank you for supporting the Patreon. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Jacob and I are having fun getting this critique video put together. It's a bit of a monster, and hopefully you guys like it. Because it's a lot, but yeah, it's a lot. I didn't want to just do another like just big 2-hour thing going through the whole game bit by bit, because other people have done that very well, and we've talked about the game so much at this point. I was like, I want to do more of a deep dive into how Starfield happened, and also still look at the game, but I want to go through more of the backstory and everything. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm in too deep. I can't lose my red badge. Hell yeah, pretty all right. Yeah, you got that sweet red badge. Coveted. Indeed. How much do you think Red Dead cost to make? I am not sure if that's been reported. Red Dead Redemption 2 cost. Analyst estimates place the game's budget between 170 and 240 million, and then the marketing budget was around 200 to 300 million. So combined, it cost somewhere between 370 and 540 million dollars. Yeah, this guy says, my dad in his late 50s, but he understands that video games are a huge deal nowadays. When I told him that Red Dead Redemption 2 cost about $540 million to make, he couldn't even fathom it. He says, I don't believe that. If that's true, I'm going to hang myself. Jesus. Obviously, he was joking. That escalated quickly. Wow. Obviously, he was joking, but after I showed him the budget on the internet, we both wondered why it cost so much. Does anyone know why? I mean, yeah, I'm still recovering from that. Part of it is the marketing. I mean, $200 million on marketing means like you ran TV commercials and you ran, maybe you rented billboards in Times Square. You did all of those really expensive things. So that's part of where the $200 million comes from on the back end. As for the initial like 200 to 300 million to actually make the game, that just comes from having teams of thousands of people working on a game for years. Like, I haven't run this ahead of time, but like if we just say you've got studios in the UK, US, Europe, all over the world, and let's say we factor in the costs of health insurance, of signing and training new employees, of some of the like real estate spaces to actually house those developers in office buildings and stuff. And let's say it costs about $100,000 per employee per year, which honestly is probably a little high for the development cycle of Red Dead, which was primarily between like 2013, 14 through 2018. But still, like, this also factors in people that are making way more than 100,000 and also a bit less. And then lots of like contractors and all of that are bundled in here as well. But if we say like 2,000 people worked on the game, or 2,500, but let's just start with 2,000, and they worked on that for 2013 to 2018, let's say like 5 years, like that would be at $1 billion. So that doesn't really work. So I'm guessing it was more like, if we say 75,000 an employee, and then let's say it was a dev team of like 1,500, and they were working for, I think it was more like 4.5 years. Because when did Red or GTA 6 launch? Was it early 2013 or late 2013? I think it might have been late. So it might be more like 4 years. But even that, like 75,000 in like a head, and then dev teams for like 4.5 years, like you can get there pretty quick when you're talking about big teams. Like pretty big teams are putting these games together. How many developers worked on RDR2? A team of approximately 1,600 people developed Red Dead Redemption 2 over several years. Jesus. 1,600 people. That's just outrageous. Facial capture. Look at that. Lenny. Arthur, I just need some goddamn faith. Yeah, look at that. They did all the bus wraps. They did everything. They were everywhere. But 1,600 people, that adds up real quick. Real quick. So 1,600 people. Average cost per employee. This was, to be fair, in the mid-20 teens. So if we even go lower and say that the average cost was like $65,000 a head, and then we say they worked on it for 4.5 years, I mean, you're already in the realm of hundreds of millions of dollars. And it was probably, I mean, as I said, it's less than this because it's 1,600 people. I'm sure that includes contractors. This isn't just like full-time employees. This is part-time contractors that were hired for short periods of time. But you can start to understand why these games are so freakishly expensive. Yeah, it takes a lot, man. A lot of people want little details, and it takes an excruciating amount of time. Yeah, no, it's a lot of very talented people working for a very long time. And they still need to break even to make a profit. Well, that's why when people are like, well, I don't think GTA 6 is going to raise prices or anything. I'm like, I would not be surprised if they do, because if your game initially cost, where is it? There it is. If your game initially cost like what did they say? 540 million after marketing. Games back when Red Dead 2 launched cost $60 a pop. So if you're selling for full price, you get $60 in revenue. But they're not actually taking that, because Xbox and PlayStation, they're going to take their 30% cut. There's processing fees. There's all sorts of stuff like that. So out of that 60, they're probably only taking in about $40 of that. So if you divide that by 40, that's assuming everybody's buying at full price, that will take, well, 13.5 million, because I forgot some zeros, because if it's 540 million divided by about $40 a copy, you need 13.5 million copies sold to actually turn a profit. And this doesn't factor in taxes. This doesn't factor in long-term customer acquisition costs. This doesn't factor in any of that stuff. If we're like even more conservative and we say 540 million, and then we say that they actually are only pocketing like maybe 32, 33 a copy, again, assuming you're buying at full price, you got to start getting ridiculous numbers of copies. You could have a game that sells 17 million copies, which Red Dead 2, where even is that? Red Dead Redemption 2 sales. That'll do. Oh, baby. Well, that's the original. No, that does include it. That is specifically Red Dead 2. They've sold 64 million copies. Is that also the original game included? No, I think that's just it. Yeah, it sold 64 million copies. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. So if you're Rockstar, and you sell 64 million copies, yeah, you're fine. You turned a profit and you're doing good. But for something like GTA 6, bear in mind, GTA 6 is expected to have cost between $1 and $2 billion. And some of these 64 million copies are including people that got it on sale, got it as part of a holiday bundle, whatever, bought the physical copy. That's all included here. So it's not like the straightforward calculation. But, nowadays, if we were to say, if GTA 6, when all is said and done, costs $2 billion to make, and even at $70, if people are buying it at full price, not even getting it on sale, buying it at full price, and after all the processing fees and everything, taxes, everything's taken out, if Take-Two and Rockstar are actually taking in about $35 a copy, like, they need to sell, and they will sell this many, but they would need 57 million copies sold to break even. 57 million copies to not lose money. If they sold 56 million copies, they would lose money. That's unbelievable. But that's what needs to happen when you're talking about a game that cost $1 billion or $2 billion, and it's just outrageous. Yeah. Plus inflation, exactly. Plus inflation. There's also other things like people get games on sale a lot. A lot of people are going to wait till GTA 6 is 20% off, 30% off, and all of a sudden then that lowers, and they need, you know, an extra copy for every 5 to keep on pace. You know, it's all that kind of factors in. And yeah, to be fair, GTA 6 is going to be GTA freaking 6. It's going to sell 100 million copies easy. It's not going to be a big deal. They'll make their money back, and they're going to make even more back on the online stuff. But that's why you see deluxe editions. That's why you see early access for an extra $20. Because if they can get 3 people to buy the upgraded version of the game for an extra $20, $25, that right there is an extra copy, effectively. Just right into the bank, right there, boom, we're good. You know, that's why you see it so often, because a lot of people buy it, and it makes this much more viable. It makes these huge games that are so freakishly expensive much more doable. I know a lot of people look at it and they're like, hey, these games are $70. $70 is a ton of money. It is. Nobody's denying that. $70 is a ridiculous amount of money. But so is $500 million. So is $2 billion. And that's how much it takes to make these games that people want. And so $70 is a lot of money, but it only really makes sense if you're on the scale of something like a GTA 6 that comes around once every decade, you know? Koikoro, assuming 2.5x ROI projection on $2 billion at $5 billion. Divided by $70 per copy on average is like 70 million copies. Yeah, which again, they'll do. And a lot of people will pay for the extra tiers, and they'll buy microtransactions in the online. You know, they'll find other ways to do it. But it is still just a mind-blowing amount of money. And it makes you understand why big companies are hesitant to really go balls to the walls with their games. Like, people point to Red Dead all the time. They're like, why don't studios nowadays have that level of attention to detail? It's like, because it costs that much, and the only way you can break even is by being one of the most successful selling games of all time. Yeah, Valhalla sold like 20 million copies. Valhalla, again, people sleep on Assassin's Creed. People don't realize how big Assassin's Creed is. Assassin's Creed is freaking huge. Like, the game is the second most profitable title in Ubisoft history. It went on to become the 5th best-selling game of 2020 and the 16th best-selling game of 21 in the US. By February of 22, the game had made over $1 billion in revenue. Over $1 billion. And this, I thought this was one of their weakest games to date. But again, people bought it, people played it, people spent money on the microtransactions and all of that. And that again just brings me back to something I've brought up a few times in the last few weeks, which is that just because we are upset about something does not mean that these publishers and everybody are in any way bothered by it. You know, like for us, we might be like, hey, the idea of having a battle pass in AC Shadows, that sounds horrible. I don't like that. Can we not? Can we not? But for Ubisoft, they're looking at it and they're like, well, we hear you, but also this other game we did made $1 billion. You guys were complaining about the monetization in that game, and it printed money. So I think we're just going to do whatever we want to do. And can you really blame them at that point? Like, if you're making $1 billion on a game and the cost of that is that some YouTubers are upset with you, hell, if I could make $1 billion by getting a handful of YouTubers pissed off at me, I'd do it. Who wouldn't? It's $1 billion freaking dollars. Like, oh no, you're gonna cry? Oh no, I'm gonna cry too. I'll dab my eyes with my $1 billion check. You know, it's just crazy. Like, it's important to voice our frustrations, to be clear. I'm not saying that we shouldn't say that we don't like things when we don't like them. I'm not saying we should pretend that, you know, it's okay or that we should just look past it. But what I am saying is, if you think that like mass downvoting a YouTube trailer is going to make any difference at all, it won't. With that $1 billion they made, they'll go buy some bots to upvote it, or they'll go and rub the shoulders of the CEO of YouTube and just be like, hey, can you get rid of those the dislike bar for us, please? Like, officially this time, so mass downvotes aren't a thing. We'll give you $10 million. Take you out to a nice vacation, buy you a jet or something. Just help us out with this. I'm not saying they actually do that, but you get the vibe. You know, you get the sentiment that it's much easier for them to just go and lobby a company like YouTube to get rid of a dislike bar than it is for them to make wide sweeping changes and not make $1 billion. Yeah. I would monetize the shit out of my game and laugh at all the Reddit comments. I think that's what like Todd does. Because people complain about Starfield and all that. But I really think like they're just making so much money on the Creation Club, on everything else they do, that they're like, yeah, it just really doesn't matter. Yeah, that gun that's the reward for that $7 quest you bought, yeah, it's broken. Doesn't really matter because we're still making ridiculous amounts of money. Which game made a bill? Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or as it's known technically in the industry,
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
$1 billion. A billy. But if you look at like Reddit, if you look at YouTube comments, you would think that game was a flop. But it was not. Not at all. Okay. Happened all the time at my last job. The customer, or treat the customer to an event or special gift. They give you what you want. Wouldn't shock me at all. Well, and there's a lot of like executives that go out to the same retreats and resorts and stuff. Like I have somebody I know that used to work at like a 5-star resort, and they were telling me that they would have like giga celebrities show up all the time. Like at one point Lizzo showed up, and apparently Lizzo is like just a hugely nasty person. That's not I didn't mean for that to be a pun, but I guess it sort of is. But no, Lizzo is apparently just like a horrible person, like just so nasty in every way, shape, and form. Which makes sense. But there were other cases where like they would see like Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, show up, and he'd be hanging out with another executive from another company that is not like they're not connected with, you know? And it's like, oh, I wonder if they're talking. I wonder if they're doing something. And it's probably a corporate retreat. They probably didn't pay for it. The company did, but they're there hanging out by the pool, drinking their margaritas and pina coladas and working on big deals. And I'm sure it's like, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. I'm sure it's all under the table, like kind of hush hush stuff, because so many of these people know each other and are interconnected. It's like a little crazy when you see just how many people move from company to company and bounce around. You're like, how did that even happen? But it's because they got the connections. It's all about networking. It's all about networking. Why you hate on Stalker 2? Because it was the worst demo at Summer Game Fest by far. Everybody said it. Like, everybody who played it said it. Maybe the final game ends up being good, but the demo sucked donkey ass. I don't know what you want from me. Do you want me to lie to you and tell you it was great? Here, I'll do it. The demo was awesome. I had a great time, and everyone that played it loved it. Like, no, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it sucked. Might just be a bad demo, but the demo that we played was bad. It just was a bad demo. Like, yeah, hashtag ad. It was bad. I don't know what you want from me. I know Stalker fans were very upset with that because they were like, he just doesn't appreciate Stalker. I'm like, okay, well, one of us played it and one of us didn't. All I'm doing here is just I'm just trying to tell you what I saw, and what I saw and verified with literally every other person that I spoke to that tried the demo. Every other person was like, yeah, it was the weakest thing we saw. It was the weakest thing we saw. Because it just was. And I know some Stalker fans got real mad about that. And I hope the game ends up being awesome. I hope it was just a bad demo. Because sometimes that is the case. Sometimes demos are just bad. And they're really not indicative of what the game has to offer. And I'm hoping that this is a case like that. Where the game ends up being awesome. Because that trailer they showed at the Xbox showcase looked 1,000,000,000% better than what we saw and actually played. So maybe the demo's just old and that trailer is closer to what the game's actually going to be like. But if the game is closer to what we played and less like the trailer, it's going to be rough. Yeah. Anyway. Like if you're looking for somebody to just tell you what you want to hear, I mean, probably not the channel for you, because I'll say what I think even when it pisses you off and gets videos mass downvoted. Maybe that's just because I'm a bad YouTuber. Maybe I should be like couching opinions a little bit more. But if I think a game looks good, I'll tell you it looks good, even if that's unpopular. Like I made a whole video in defense of The Last of Us Part 2, because I think that game is very impressive in many, many ways that it doesn't really get credit for on the internet. People were very upset that I said that, but like, if I think something, I'll tell you, even if it upsets people. But that's just how it is, you know? Anyway. Yes, I do have a dual PC streaming setup. Yeah, this is the gaming PC. The streaming PC is on the other side on a little table. I think for one of the first exclusive Patreon videos, we're gonna do a little studio tour, and I can show you kind of what that's like. You know, bigger, longer, uncut studio tour. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I might film that later today. I don't know. I might just grab the camera, film it, put it up on the Patreon. So I think we'll do a few Patreon exclusive videos in the next few weeks as we rev it up. Yeah. Anyway. I need to try and get a hold of the one and only Joe Raptor, see if we're doing the podcast today. I have not heard from him yet, so we'll see. In the meantime, we will cut the stream here. I might be back in 15 minutes with the podcast. That's my hope, at least. But I have to try to get a hold of Joe Raptor because I have not heard from him. But he's a busy little bee, so you never know. You never know. But I will hopefully be back in like 15 minutes. Otherwise, I will be grinding out the Starfield critique video, so I'll be working on that. If you want something to entertain you, go watch the new video on the main channel of the Starfield paid mods. I bought like 30 bucks of them and tried them all. And some of them are okay. Some of them are really, really bad. So go check that out in the meantime. Hopefully I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Much love. Thank you everybody who sent in super chats and memberships and subscriptions on Twitch. You guys are amazing. Hopefully talk to you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.